All right, welcome back. There we go. Okay, so let me finish doing my match setup here. Match setup. Player one, looking at Sabine ECL. And then player two, of course, Han ECL. Both players here on ECL for their base. 25 HP bases. This has the potential to be a very quick match. Couple of aggro green decks here in Heroism. So let's come to that screen. And of course, it didn't update. I don't know why it refuses to do this. Oh, I think I know why now that I think about it. I've got to still go adjust that top camera. I should have checked that. All right. Sabine. It's a quirk of overwriting the files the way I have this set, I think. To figure out why that keeps happening. And you know what I want? Yeah. There we go. That'll work. All right. Still didn't work. Why is this not working? I have an idea. Let's try something. I don't know why this won't update. It's getting really frustrating, but I think we're going to have to just run with it because they're about to get started. So, unfortunately, the bases and the leader overlays will not work this round because I just don't know why. But it looks like both players are going to mulligan. At least the aspects and base healths have been set up correctly, so we've got that going for us at least. Have they started the timer? They have. We're about 4 minutes behind. That's okay. I'm still very, very torqued at my setup right now. It's been mostly working, but I can tell that something in the overwrite code is not working correctly today. Okay, here we go. Both players now pretty much going to be stuck with what they've got. Eric trying to figure out what else to resource here. He's probably safe to resource that Bright Hope if he wants, but he's going to opt to hold on to it. Although, against the A-Wings, it's probably not a bad idea. Going to start with the Fighters for Freedom, using Han's ability. And I need to mark who's got the initiative there. Oh, it is correct. Excellent. Well, look at them using that blonde Sabine token. Look at you guys. I love it. Excuse me, the Bothan Network token. My bad. Frank, of course, playing for the Bothan Network there in the jersey on the left-hand side of the screen. Similar decks. It is similar decks, Chris. I had a conversation with Eric about this after his earlier game. One of the things that he mentioned, and I don't mind saying this because I don't think it's, I'm not giving away state secrets or anything here. But he did point out that one of the things that he does in Han is he doesn't play wing leaders and he doesn't play fleet lieutenants because you're drawing from the same kind of a basic unit pool as Sabine does, right? But you are Eric's like, I don't want to look for something that depends, for it to be useful, depends on me having a unit on the board. And he has some specific units in his deck. I won't say chosen, but I'll say, tweaked a little bit off of what you might normally see out of a Sabine because he's playing a different leader. Going to swing in here. Frank's going to go high with a wing leader. Buff his R2 up. Fighters for Freedom. Another Fighters for Freedom going to come in and ping the base for one. Now that can add up quickly for Frank if If Eric plays another red card next round, from possibly, that's 2 damage to the base just for playing the card out of his hand with 2 Fighters for Freedom on the board. Frank probably having a think now, does he want to smash into one of these guys with R2? He could theoretically kill the damaged one. That might save him some future pain. But as an aggro deck, he has to be thinking about going to the base too. He's already a little behind here. I think, this is an interesting position for Sabine to be in, right? Frequently, you don't find yourself in Sabine contemplating controlling your opponent's board a little bit, or at least not this early. But I think Frank may find himself in that position against how this Han deck has been playing out. He does opt to go to the base. We'll see how that decision plays. I think I might have taken out the Fighters rather than try to race another aggro green, but Frank probably knows this matchup better than I do, so we'll have to rely on his judgment for now. He certainly has more games in it than I do. Now, this is going to be a good match platform. Both these guys, these are excellent players on decks that they know very well. You won't find too many cards in these decks that aren't chosen for like a specific reason. We're going to go ahead and use Han's ability here. As a reminder, Han allows him to spend 1 less to deploy a unit, and then he can, but it comes in with 2 damage on it. He's using the Adelphi Patrol Wing right here, which he's then going to take the Fighters for Freedom and smack in for 5 damage. Now that is all of Han's resources. This is Sabine's turn to flip onto the board if she wants. But Eric already out to a bit of a lead here. Why does Eric not have card backs? I don't know. Didn't feel like it. The beauty of sleeves, Gandalf, is that they are just a matter of whatever you decide you want to do. And I can see now the stream is cratering. Ooh, this thing is struggling for some reason. Okay, we had a bit of a hiccup there. Looks like I can't tell if it's trying to come back or not. There we go. Looks like it's back. We definitely had a hiccup there, so I apologize for that, everybody. All right, we're going to ECL out K2 here. Uses his ECL base, so that allows him to ambush in. And then he's going to swing into the base with the Wing Leader. Eric staying on the button, keeping initiative. Yeah, had a bit of a hiccup there with the internet, guys. Hopefully you are back and everything is good, but we definitely had a bit of a lag spike there. Eric has claimed. Frank thinking about pinging here, running the numbers in his head, working on the math. I missed an attack in there from R2, so he is going to ping with Sabine, both players taking a damage. Bit of a risk here, but again, you have to rely. I mean, Frank's been playing this deck for so long. He's put so many games into it. You have to believe that he's got that math worked out to where he's happy with it. Well, thank you, Tortoise. It takes a lot more gear to do this, but I do enjoy it. It's going to bring out Sabine. There we go. He's going to bump off the Fighters for Freedom and pull the game even. 10 damage apiece on everybody's base, but Frank with a much more solid-looking board state than Eric. Now, Eric's going into his Han turn, so we know for a minimum we're going to see his leader come out. We also know that because of the way that deck works, that he could potentially bring out something this round, something large and in charge. We can see a Wrecker in his hand. He can't ambush out the Wrecker. He can use Han's ability to bring out the Wrecker. We're going to spend 5. Is this Poe? It is a Poe. We're going to ambush in a Poe Dameron here. See how he decides to play this out. My guess is he's going to discard a card to murder Sabine along the way. No, he's going to smash Poe into Sabine and discard a card to deal 2 damage to K2 and blow him up. That should trigger K2's ability, and I'm betting that Frank will go to base with damage. We'll see how he calls it here. Obviously thinking about it. Only 2 cards in hand for Eric. The card in hand might be the right play. This is always an interesting dilemma you see with K2. It's one of my favorite things about his when defeated ability is it gives you options. He does end up opting for the base, but I'll just refresh everybody's memory. When K2's defeated, the player controlling him gets a choice. Frank takes his first lead here in game 1. But that's a big Poe on the board that R2 cannot knock off. And Frank has burned his ECL. Not see how precisely the sequence of events that led to the end of the game. I know while I was troubleshooting, Eric did get Han out, but I think he probably lost the initiative that round just because he had more stuff to do getting his leader onto the field. He had at least 3 actions left, right? Because he had to deploy Han, he had to attack with Han, and he was going to want to attack with the Adelphi. Yes, thank you, Xander. We are back. It has been that was an irritating problem. Piecing that together later will be fun, but it is what it is. All right, looks like we are done sideboarding. So we'll come back to here. It should be, let me double check. Yeah, the upload speed just took a dump for a little while. I don't know why precisely. I just know that it did. Let's see. Let's come back to, we need stream elements. Yeah, I had a timer set up that was, yeah, the stream elements timer should be good. I'll just cycle the timer to make sure that it restarts. There we go. You should be good, Xanda. The melee.gg link should pop up in chat every now and then so that folks can go check that out if they want. And that'll become more relevant as we get a little deeper into the standings as well. Oh, look at Frank with the cheeky double cut there. All right, Eric seemingly happy with his hand. Frank seemingly happy with his. Both players making some resource decisions. Eric starting on the button since he lost game 1, and here we go into game 2. Eric opening up with an A-Wing. Frank opening with a Battlefield Marine. Pretty standard opening for each deck. Both players able to... Oh, and we had the Sabine ping, of course. Both players will be able to swing in for 3 here as their early actions of the round. I'm sure that will be happening. I see a card in Eric's hand that I hope he plays, because we'll talk about it when it happens. It's a card that he and I chatted about. He was very excited about it, describing to me how it is one of the more important cards in his deck. He's opting to stay high here, holding the orbitals with a red 3. Frank coming in with that wing leader play on turn 2 again, buffing up his Battlefield Marine to a 5/5. Four to base from Eric, and 5 to base from Frank. Eric claims. We're moving on. Oh, wait, nope. Eric claims Sabine pings. Ha-ha. Now we're moving on. Yeah, Adeldrell, chat's inquiring, can you change leaders or decks between the same rounds? You cannot. You're always stuck with the same leader and base. You have to build a minimum 50-card deck, and you are allowed to bring a sideboard of up to 10 cards that after game 1 of any match, you are allowed to swap cards in and out of your deck as long as they align with those 10. Basically, those 10 cards can be swapped in or out of your deck in any configuration that you want. Going to go red 3 into the wing leader. knock him off, and it looks like we have a daring raid. Yep. Daring raid, 2 quick free damage. We're going to play a double damaged R2 from Han. Han going to use his ability here to bring R2 in for free. So Eric retains all of his resources still as that Battlefield Marine swings in super hard. Now, I know from talking to him, Eric has a play in his hand to deal with this. It's a question of, does he want to? Frank thinking through things here. Actually, no. Now that I look at it, Eric has already used that. No. Yes, he could do it. I think Frank's doing math. I think Frank is mathing, everybody. I don't think he's got the General's Blade. I think if he had the blade, he'd have played it already. Like, in the sense of, I'm not sure why you wouldn't. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just go, oh, well, you say slow playing. Like, if the play is, I think he was trying to decide whether or not to ping before he flipped. He's trying to do the math in his head to think through. If he flips on Eric sitting on 4 resources, that gives Eric 1 action to have an answer for Sabine. He does have an answer for Sabine, but it will leave him without an answer for the Battlefield Marine. But I think he's going to have to make that hard choice this turn. Frank thinking again. Half the fun of having the player cameras, guys, one of the reasons that I love doing that is being able to watch these guys agonize. You know, you can't see Frank because he's leaned back out of camera. But it's obvious he's thinking about it, right? In fact, let's agonize with Frank. Oh, he leaned back in. Let's agonize with Frank, shall we? You just thought you could lean out of camera, Frank. He's trying to think through the turn. Trying to plan it out. Two 25-point bases and aggro leaders make the math, I think, very difficult to work through. Trying to find the right line here. He's got 3 resources. He does have the blade in hand. I can see it there, as the middle card is a General's Blade. But he's also got a Sabine and what looks like might be another Battlefield Marine. It's hard to tell. Frank's going to take initiative? And we're going to the next round. Eric didn't even play a card. Oh, you know what it was? Eric passed and Frank took initiative. That's exactly what happened here. Eric passed and Frank took initiative. So Frank, unwilling to run the risk of getting smashed by whatever it is he thinks Eric might have in his hand. Can't say that I blame him. I probably, honestly, in his shoes, I probably would have made the same play. Crucial turn in this matchup approach coming in here now. We're going to ambush in a Fleet Lieutenant. Did he just, okay, he ambushed the R2 and then threw 7 into the base with that Battlefield Marine. That Battlefield Marine is responsible for now 17 of the 20 damage on Eric's base. We're going to deploy Han. We're going to ping. Still hasn't brought out Sabine. Eric could stall a little bit. He could swing in with the A-Wing. It's probably the right play. He's trying to wait for Sabine to come out, but I don't think he can at this point. He's got 2 plays. He can attack with either one of them, right? But he's so low at this point. For a cause, the wrong card at the wrong time. This is the big turn for Eric here, right? Like, he desperately needs to clear something. We're at a point now where Frank might not even ever need to deploy Sabine. If I'm Eric, I think I'm pretty sure he's sitting on a heavy. I think he has to play it. But the trick is, if he does, he loses the leverage he needs to kill Sabine. He's going to go ahead and swing in with the A-Wing for 3. That puts the ball in Frank's court. Frank has 2 resources and a leader he can deploy. Frank could also claim right here and hope that his opponent can't deal 11 damage with 5 resources. But man, that is a gamble. I don't think Eric could, but is Frank willing to take that chance? I'm betting he won't. But here's the thing, even if Eric just taps in and clears Sabine out, he still has to deal with the goofy Marine. He doesn't have a good answer for this 5/5 Marine. He's going to use Han to base. Okay, this is a surprise to me. Eric thinks he has a line to win here, I think. He has to win on these next few actions, or Frank is just going to walk away with his first action of the next round. Okay, there comes Sabine. Okay, Eric's got an Echo-based defender. That's going to buy him a little bit of time. Does Sabine take the defender? Can't take the defender. Sabine would only put 2 damage into the defender. That's a really, really well done play by Eric. Sabine cannot take the defender on her own. Her bonus damage from the leader only goes to the base. Unit Sabine could at least take out the defender, but leader Sabine cannot. Yeah, it was a great claim by Frank last round. I think I would have done the same thing in his shoes. Like, if your opponent is obviously waiting for you to do the predictable thing, Frank now going to hold the initiative. Eric calling it. Or moving on. Okay. So now Frank's got to find a way to deal with this Sentinel. Eric still has his ECL available and now has 6 resources. So this could also be a big wrecker play here. You could see, for example, Wrecker come in and just blow up that Marine. Which is something that he desperately needs to do. He's got to clear some of this stuff out. Eight to 4. Very, very tight game. That one Sentinel absolutely keeping Eric in the game, and he timed it perfectly. He had to wait until all the big units had attacked in. But Frank's going to get the first action here. He's going to come in. He's probably going to, he's just going to blow it up with a wrecker of his own. It's a good call. Okay, so Eric is going to ECL in. Going to ditch a resource. I'm sure he's going to blow something up. He more or less has to. It's just a question of where this damage is going. Okay. We're going to blow up the Marine. And we're going to overwhelm. Yep, 7 into the Fleet Lieutenant, taking 3 back, which puts a 5 spot onto the base. So now Frank is 1 action away. As soon as the A-Wing or Han swings, Frank loses game 2. Sabine swings in for 3. Not enough here? Let's make sure I understand what happened. We're resetting, so it looks like Eric pulled that one out. Eric had 2 different lines there, right? He needed to push 3 damage through. He had it in space. He had it on the ground. It only took 1 unit, and it looks like we're moving on to game 3. First time we've had a game 3 today. I will not complain about that. 2 very evenly matched players and good decks here. Eric was down 10 points. Think about that for a minute. He was down 14-4. And it was all about the timing of the defender, right? Chat talking about savage use of the defender. It was 100% savage, but it was all about the timing. The defender, Sabine, can't take the defender on her own. And that's the difference in the game, right? That's the difference in the game. Oh, get the base health correct. There we go. These 25-point bases play quick, but what I like, one of the things, I've never actually, one of the things that I've watched, I've watched Frank play on other streams, but you never actually get to see the player. You only ever see the top-down view. I like being able to see these guys kind of stop and, you obviously have no idea what's going on in their brain. But it's obvious, like, okay, he's mathing. How do I get there? Finding the line. One of the things that makes Unlimited such a fun experience for me, of course, the same way it did in Destiny, the back-and-forth actions. The action trading, you have to make the right play at the right time in the right order. And, Eric made the right play as well. Right? He knows that if he can push through 5 damage to the base, that he has 2 different ways to win. Han on the ground, A-wing in space. Either one of those plays, Frank is one action away. So great play from both players there. Eric having the right card at the right time and finding the right line to get through it. And that 1 damage earlier that R2 did to that fleet lieutenant, very impactful, right? Frank chose to clear out that R2 earlier. It was only a 1-2 unit, but he was like, no, get off the board. That 1 damage on the R2 from R2 swinging into R2 made all the difference, right? That was just enough damage for Wrecker to be an impact there. Oh, I absolutely played Destiny. I miss Destiny. What a great game. I could talk about Destiny for a while because it was an experience that I did not expect to have. In the sense of years and many, many, many years ago, I swore off mixing the randomness of cards with the randomness of dice all together in one game in a CCG, TCG format. But once I played Destiny about 4 or 5 times, I was like, okay, no, this is actually very strategic and very tactical. The tactics, really, right? How you managed a game mattered. And when I started playing Unlimited again, when I started playing Unlimited, I realized very quickly that I was in trouble because this game had the exact same amazing mechanics to it in the sense of how, the sequencing mattered. You needed to find the right sequence of actions to win the game. There was no such thing as like, oh, this deck is just autopilot. No. You can hand somebody a world championship winning deck in this game and they can flub it 100%. Because unless you understand the mechanics and the matchup you're in and the actions you need to take and the order and the importance of initiative and which round you're in and so on and so like all these things add together to make the game so deliciously complex in the right way that I absolutely love it. Okay, on to game 3. Frank starts us off with a Sabine on the ground. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate the kind words. Eric contemplating his first play. Interesting. An immediate ECL ambush of Sabine here. So immediate use of ECL by Han. And just like that, Frank is a unit down. Of course, his ECL still available. Interesting choice. I'm going to be curious to see how that plays out for Eric. That feels too aggressive to me, but maybe I'm crazy. At the same time, if he doesn't do that, if that's Eric's only turn 1 play, and Frank wants to just trade, Eric's going to lose it. Whereas in this instance, Eric's at least going to be able to get it into the base if he wants. Yep, Fighters for Freedom. 3 to base. Frank keeps the initiative, and that now critical Echo-based defender making an appearance here in Game 3. Battlefield Marine trading for Sabine looks really big now. Eric knowing he had that Sentinel in his hand, knowing that Frank would have to either ambush in to knock off the Marine, and then, if he didn't, Eric could back it up with a Sentinel. He's going to get another swing out of this 3-1 Marine. No, I like the play, Myers. I do. For me, it's more of a question of, okay, would I have thought to do that? I probably wouldn't have. To me, that shows you the time that Eric has put into either playing, actually playing or just thinking through this matchup looking at the lines, thinking of the strategies that work and don't work to tackle this matchup. If you play unlimited competitively, I don't care what you're playing, you have to have a plan for Green Sabine. You're going to see it, right? At least in a 6-round tournament, you might see it twice, you might see it 3 times, you're going to see it at least once. It's a great deck. It's not that expensive to build. It's not cost prohibitive. Not anymore. Poe used to be the most expensive card in there. Probably still is, but even that price has come down. He could trade with the Sabos. He could also just ignore the Sentinel, right? You're right. It's a good point. He is going to kill the Marine because he can ignore the Sentinel. But that's fine. I think Eric's still happy with that because then he still gets 4 damage to base. He stays ahead. I think he's 100% happy with that trade. Sabine deploying here. I'm going to try this. This may not work. That did work. Okay, so they updated in the files. It just didn't update in the thing. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're going to spend. We're going to use Han to play Poe with 2 damage on him. A turn early. We have a 6/4 Poe Dameron on the board. Frank a little behind here in Game 3. Trying to think through. Still has his ECL available. We might be looking at that. He's got a Fleet Lieutenant in his hand, so he might be trying to think through a big ECL play next round. I think he's also got a K2 in there. That's got to look pretty enticing, being able to knock out a Poe with your first action of the following round. But with Sabine on the board, he's got the General's Blade. Nope, he's going to go. Okay. So he takes a Fleet Lieutenant to overcome the Defender and push 1 through to base. Eric's going to take the initiative. That's a big play for him. He wants the initiative going into this round to make sure he gets the chance to do something with this Poe. I agree. I think Frank is behind, but it's not so unrecoverable yet that it's a catastrophe. Now, the problem he's going to run into here is that Poe can easily knock off Sabine, knock off the Fighters for Freedom, and still be standing. So if you're Eric, you have to feel good about your board position right now because he's going to have to discard a card to pull all that off. But if he's willing to do it, he can clear 2 units with 1 attack here. Now, that damage is not going to base, so we'll have to see which way he decides to play this here. Looks like he's going to attack into the Fighters for Freedom and then discard a card to deal 2 damage to Sabine. Good use of Poe there to manage the board. Keep things from being too crazy. Oh, no, did he go to base? Oh, he went to base with the Poe. Okay. All right. I like that play too. I think it's solid. Yeah, good question, Andrell. The timer is in the bottom right. Players have to somebody has to come up with 2 wins before time runs out. That's the deal. I'm guessing that we're ambushing in here with ECL. I'm not quite sure what just happened. He just played Poe. Oh, I apologize. I see it now. He played it, and then the Fighters for Freedom dealt the damage. Okay, got it. Okay, so now we got a Rebel Assault coming out of Frank's hand. And now, let's see what the damage total on that's going to be. He's going to trade into Poe with the Fleet Lieutenant. And it looks like 4 to base with the Fighters. 4 to base with the Fighters. Still, Frank feels like he's on the back foot here. Han's on the board. Eric has all his resources available. Doesn't have ECL. Can't quite see what is in his hand. Looks like he might have had it for the cause. Can't tell what that top. I can see an A-wing. I can't make out the event. 3 to base with Han. Frank going to take the initiative. All right, Eric with all his resources here, free to do what he wants. Just a question of what he's got in his hand. Coming in with a heavy. That's his tech card in the deck. I'm from talking to him a little bit. Okay, he's going to play the A-Wing with damage using Han's ability, and then he's going to play heavy. Now, heavy is the card that I was having talks with him about. It is a 4-cost 4/4 out of Twilight that has raid 2 with coordinate. So right now when he swings in, he can do 6 to base in the one swing. So that's a threat that Frank has to deal with. But when he explodes, when he dies, every enemy unit on the ground takes 1 damage. So if Frank wants to trade with that heavy, he's going to lose his fighters for freedom as well. It's a 10-point deficit here for Sabine. Frank trying to find a way to stay alive here and win Game 3. Checking Eric's discard pile. Frank's been consistently playing with his hand off camera, so I can't really see what he's got cooking in there. The fact that he's spending this much time contemplating his next move, I think speaks volumes. I think he can't leave the heavy alive. I think he has to smash the K2 in, but when he does, it's going to clean him off the board, and he's going to eat 6 more. And there's basically nothing he can do about it. If he doesn't leave the heavy, if he leaves the heavy on the board, he's going to be in trouble. All right, we're ambushing in probably a Poe. Yep, it's a Poe. Going to use his ECL. Okay, so we're going to discard a card using Poe to smash the A-Wing and then send Han away. That turns off the coordinate on the heavy. Different way to approach it, but I like it. It keeps the Poe on the board. So now the question becomes, Eric's not going to be able to play anything for cheap this round. His ECL is burned. He's just going to go 4 to base. Probably not a bad play, truth be told. He's now getting into the range where a couple of 4 causes could make a big impact here. Nope, 1 off. There we go. Or he could smuggle a Cassian. That would also be a solid play, ladies and gentlemen. Cassian, of course, cannot be killed by the K2 without a little bit of extra help. Good timing on that one. One damage from the fighters with Poe. Oh, they may have missed that. Yeah, they may have missed that one. He discarded the card with Poe to get the A-Wing. They may have missed the fighter's trigger. That's a good point. Eric should probably be 1 lower, but at this point, I'm not convinced it's going to matter. Frank agonizing again here a little bit. He can't kill Cassian unless he's got something in his hand that I don't know about. Oh, I think he's looking through his resources. He keeps leaning off camera. I think he's doing it intentionally. No, he's not. Okay. He's thinking. This has been a hell of a match, boys. Let me tell you. Both players have just played this beautifully, trading blow for blow. It's like a good boxing match. You know, I've never really cared for boxing. It's not my sport. But when I watch games like this, my brain equates it to a boxing match, right? Each player taking punches, each player having to figure out how to receive the other player's punches. He's going to trade with heavy. I think he trades with heavy, Cassian swings, and then he claims. That's what I'm betting happens here. Well, hold on. He missed the heavy trigger. Oh, no, that heavy trigger should have gone off. They missed the heavy trigger. Heavy should have dealt 1 damage to each of them. Okay, there we go. Eric's got it now. That clears the fighters at least. There we go. And that leaves Poe with only 2 HP left. There we go. Okay, they caught it. So yeah, there's probably supposed to be 1 more damage on Eric's base, but I'm going to leave it the way the players have it. Okay, so we're going to clear the board here. Oh, no, Poe's going to go into the base, but then the Cassian out of the resource row. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric with the come-from-behind win there. Winning games 2 and 3 to take the match. Nicely played. Nicely played. I remember when they spoiled Cassian, I remember thinking that the card was a little underwhelming. But, man, the more times I see people play that card, it just seems to be impactful almost every time it comes out of the board. Because that coming out, you don't think of a card coming out from the smuggle row coming out ready. And it's a really, you pay for it. Like, you pay for the privilege of doing that with Cassian. But, man, has he been impactful in almost all the games he's seen. Yep, very well played by both players. Eric's going to walk away with the win there.